Hello, hello, and good morning, and welcome to another Daily Creative Challenge. My name is Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist here at Adobe, and it is a beautiful day. I'm in my fall colors. I'm ready for fall. I don't know about you guys, but I am so ready for fall to kick off. I'm sick of this summer. It's so hot. And I hope all of you are doing well. We have Travis from San Diego, also very hot. We have Eric, we have Jan, and let me know where you're from. I always love hearing where everyone's from. We have people from all around the world joining us. Bring that pumpkin spice. Yes, Jake, we're on the same page. Bring that pumpkin spice. We have Gabrielle, we have Inez from Missouri, Lindsay. Whoa, this chat is going crazy. We have people from all over the place. And it's great to see all of you. It's another beautiful Monday morning, and we're gonna get kicked off. We just saw Marissa kick off today's daily challenge, which was daily challenge number 5, creating a booking app, a mobile booking app. And we're gonna have some fun today. We're gonna kind of break the bounds as usual. We're gonna do some time transitions, which is new in Adobe XD in the September release. And people really hate summer. Yeah, sometimes. It depends where you're from. If it's like 70 degrees or 80 degrees, it's not bad. But where I'm at, it was 100 degrees yesterday. Not fun. And this week we have a crazy packed schedule. Tomorrow we have inclusive design. It's going to be really fun. Kicking off with Michael Shez and Lindsay Monroe. And we have an interview with Kat Small. And then we're jumping into Liz Jackson, Shannon Finnegan. And then we have the Daily Creative Challenge with Marissa at 11:30. Changing it up a little bit, which is going to be good. So, hello from India. Hey. I love seeing people from all over the place. And speaking from people all over the place, if you head over to behance.net/daily creative challenge, you can see all the information about the daily challenges. Again, today's day number 5, and right at the top, you can go ahead and register. And the benefit of that is you'll get a nice little notification at the top of your Creative Cloud app saying that today you're designing a design and prototype a mobile app for a booking appointment. I just butchered that completely. But the point is, you will get a notification. Every single day we're running a challenge. And what's better than that? You know what's better than that? If you scroll down a little bit, we have a Slack community. And this is really cool, because let me hop into Slack. Over here we have almost 5,000 people. We have 4,879 people in our Slack channel right now from all over the world. I think we're covering pretty much every continent, every time zone. It's crazy. We have Canada, Mexico, Germany, Cincinnati. And in addition to the introductions, you can ask for help, you can ask for design feedback, you can chat. There's a lot going on in this Slack community. So jump in there, have fun, talk to people while you're designing. Back in the chat, we have Simon from the UK. We have Michelle from Ecuador. That's great. And down here you can see, I haven't refreshed yet. Let me refresh. And you'll be able to see that we now also have, no we don't, it's not here. But I promise it will be here on Monday. Maybe I have to clear my cache. Let me try that. Aha, I had to clear my cache. So if you hold down your shift key and press the refresh button, here's the appointment booking app, Daily Challenge. You can download the template, which I'll show you in a second, or you can rewatch the video, which is Marissa's kickoff that you just saw a few minutes ago. I'm clearly still waking up. You can also head over to the Adobe XD website, and what I really like about this is under the resource section, you have all these design kits, UI kits, for Apple, material design for Google, Microsoft, and then you have some specific ones that you can download to help in your designing as well, which is really helpful. So definitely check that out. And what I love to show before we get started is inspiration. And anytime I start a design project, I'm always either on Dribbble or Behance or some other website, and I go into the Discover tab and then UI and UX. And then I can simply type in, let's say, appointments, and you'll basically get a bunch of projects that kind of relate to what we're working on today. Hey, Alex, welcome to Daily Challenge number 5. Hope you're enjoying yourself. And you can just click on any. This one actually is kind of what we're going for today. We're going to be creating a barber app to book appointments for getting a haircut and stuff like that. So without further ado, let me hop into Adobe XD. Here is the template that you're going to be able to download today. And off the bat, we give you a few artboards you can start off with. And as you saw in the last stream, Marissa kicked off with these 3 artboards, and she kind of just used these and expanded on them. She added images, she created a repeat grid. And Jake's it's been a year since your last haircut. You should probably, maybe you can create an app to book your own haircut. We'll see. Oh, it's still showing the schedule. I'm sorry. I just completely ruined that. Now it's not showing the schedule. Okay, let me go over this quickly. It didn't, and people were messaging me, screaming at me that it didn't show the schedule. My bad. Okay, very quickly, let's go over this again. Thank you. This is why I need people in my life to, correct me. So, behance.net/daily creative challenge. Make sure to register. There's a button at the top. If you're not registered, click that button. You will get a notification. Every single day we're running a challenge, it'll appear right here. Scroll down, we have our Slack community, and showing you what that is, here's Slack. And here's all the people that are in Slack. We have almost 5,000 people. And right down here, you can download the template. Hopping over to Adobe XD, you heard me say this, but you didn't see it. Design kits, UI kits for pretty much anything you can possibly need, almost anything. And then over on Behance, I always love going to the Discover tab, UI and UX, and then just searching for what I'm kind of designing. And it really gives me some inspiration for update wire. Are we good? Let me know if we're good. Can you see my screen? Can you hear me? Can't see the screen. I can see it on my end. Well, this is interesting. We're good. Okay, we are good. Okay. We're good. We're good. Okay. Well, I have the shortcuts set and it didn't work. I'll fix that later. Okay, so let's jump into it. I kind of got sidetracked. Thank you everyone for letting me know that I messed up. So here's the template that you're all able to download today. And as you saw from Marissa, we did master. I'm going to quiz you on that schedule at the end of this. And so what Marissa did, she grabbed these templates, these artboards, and she kind of just expanded on it. She added images, she went through the repeat grid, and she kind of used some of these color schemes over here to the left. And what's really cool is if you're planning on using some of these color schemes, you can very easily add these as an asset. So if I go at the bottom, let me make sure this is nice and big. Down here at the bottom, we have our assets panel. And what I'm able to do is, let's say I really like this first color scheme. I can click on this circle, I can hold down my shift key, click on the other ones, bam, 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 bam. And with all of those selected, I can press the plus button and it's gonna automatically add those colors to my assets panel. So now no matter where I am in my project, in my document, I can click and it'll automatically apply that color. And what's really cool is, let me add this color to various places just to show you how this works. If I decide, you know what, not liking that red, I kind of want to change it a little bit, I can right click on the color, edit it, and it's going to update across my entire document. Adobe XD is going to know that that color is being used in several places, and it's going to go ahead and update, which is really nice. So with that being said, we're going to leave these artboards behind and we're going to go all the way down here like we usually do, and we're going to design from scratch. So over here to the left, I kind of have some of the artboards that I kind of want to work on. Whether we get through all of them today or not, I don't know, because that lovely misstep in the morning. We're going to do a home screen, and this home screen is really going to help us find a location for our barbershop. We can either use a zip code or we can use our location. We have a map. We're going to have location details. We're going to have a booking screen and a confirmation screen. And we're going to use a new feature that just shipped in Adobe XD just a few weeks ago. Or was it last week? I don't know. I've lost track of time. And that's time transitions, to give a little bit of animation to some of our artboards. So let's get started. We're going to grab our artboard tool over to the left. We are going to create an iPhone 6, 7, or 8 artboard. And when we click on it, it appears in the center of our document. Bam. I'm going to zoom in right here. And this artboard, like I mentioned, is going to be our home screen. It's all fine. Thank you, Alex. I know. It's always fun when you mess up. So, yeah. And Aaron, you kind of nailed it. We're going to take this design challenge a little bit further because you're definitely able to just jump in and use these artboards if you're kind of new or you're not quite sure which direction you want to take. But if you do want to use some additional tips and tricks and take it in a different direction, I might have some tips for you. So we're going to start off by applying a background to this artboard. And I'm going to do that by using a stock photo that I downloaded from Adobe Stock this morning. And it's right over here. Now, I could just go ahead and drag this in, and that's massively large. And if I press Command 0, I can kind of see the whole thing, but it's just not usable. It's very difficult to navigate. So what I like to do when I'm working with a very large image is I like to create a background, a rectangle. So I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, simply drag out, doesn't matter if it goes beyond the bounds of the artboard. And hey Judith, hey Jazzy, never used XD before. You're in for a treat. It's a lot of fun. So once I have my rectangle created, I'm also gonna hop into the layers panel. I'm just gonna name this so I keep my layers nice and organized. And I guarantee you by the end of the stream, my layers are gonna be all over the place and not organized. But if I do that and I hop back into my Creative Cloud libraries, and then I drag this in, you're noticing it's highlighted in blue, and that will allow me to place it inside that shape. And now it's a lot easier to use, and it looks a lot better. And if I double click on it, I can make it larger, I can make it smaller, and I can move it anywhere within the bounds of this shape. And when I click off of it, it's gonna hide the bounds, or it's gonna hide the excess, which is nice. So with that said, we want to add a logo at the top, and we're also gonna add some sort of text and then some buttons so we can either enter our zip code or we can use our location. And for our logo, so we don't waste time designing a logo, I actually have these icons here that I purchased from Symbol Icons, I believe. And they actually have a nice little mustache logo. So I'm gonna grab this, drag it into Adobe XD. I'm gonna move my Creative Cloud libraries down here for now. I'm gonna move it over here. And because it's an SVG, it's basically vector, so I can make it as large as I wanted to. I'm gonna leave it right around there. That's a great looking mustache. I wish I can do that. And then I can change my fill to white. And it's already looking great. I should just leave the app as is. Now right below, I'm gonna add some text just so people know what exactly this screen is. I'm gonna write, find a cut. Nice and simple. And I can move it anywhere I want in my document. If I want to very quickly move it to the center, I can either drag it until I see that line going down the middle, or at the top right, I have my Align Center button. If I press that, it automatically aligns it to the center of the document, and I can use this handle at the bottom to make it bigger or smaller. Very cool. Yeah, Jan, I love CC libraries too. It's very simple. And what's really cool is that if you have a file in your Creative Cloud libraries that was edited in Photoshop, you can actually right-click, press Edit, and go back to Photoshop to edit it, and then come back to Adobe XD, and those changes will be made, which is really nice. You know, Helvetica is not bad. I'm actually going to go with Avenir next for my font, and let's go for a nice bold look, and I'll make it white. Beautiful. Now, if I wanted to save this font and style for future use, if I go back to my Assets panel, I can press the plus button beside Character Styles, and it's going to automatically add it there, so I can use that anywhere else in my document with just a click of the mouse, which is great. So we have our little logo, we have Find a Cut, and now we need some buttons. So I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, drag out right over here. This is going to be for the zip code. It's actually going to be a text field. I'm going to leave it right about there, and I want to round the corner. So if I zoom in here, you'll notice there's 4 dots, 4 little handles on the inside of your shape, and if you just drag those inwards, it's going to automatically round those corners. You can also do it over here to the right, if you might be able to see that. It's not zooming in, but you can change the corner radius right over there. Hey Chris, welcome. I am doing my thing today. So for this one, I'm going to turn the fill quite a bit down, so it's a little bit off from the background. Do we need a border? We probably don't need a border. And then we want to add some text in the middle of it to tell people what this box is for. And this one's going to be enter zip code. Now for things like this, a bold font's probably not going to work. So we're going to change this, let's say to medium. Let's also make this smaller. Just like that. Enter zip code. I'm gonna decrease the opacity just a touch. Hey, Tim is in the house. So we can go with either medium or regular. Regular looks pretty good. So if people want to use their zip code, they can definitely do that. I'm going to duplicate this, type out OR to give people an option. I'm going to center it with my Align Center button. And then I'm just going to actually grab this, duplicate this. So what I did there is I selected the background, this icon, held down my Shift key, selected the text, and then with my Alt or Option key held down, dragged it down, and now I have 2 buttons. There we go. Looks great. Now this one back here is going to be for our location. So because I want this as a button, I want it a little bit more defined. So I'm going to change the fill of this one to white. Now obviously the text, white, not going to work. So I'm going to change that to a darker color. And this is going to be use my location. Beautiful. Now you know what? I may want... Chris is a sweater weather type. Yes, I love sweaters. That's why I love visiting San Francisco. Nice and sweatery. And here, if I type in, let's say location, I have a bunch of different icons I can use. Let's use the target icon. Drag this over here, make it a little bit smaller. And I might have to make these buttons a tad bigger. Just like that. And make sure everything is nice and centered. Beautiful. Now I'm going to hop over to my layers panel and make sure everything is organized because I keep forgetting to organize. Chris, I am located in Southern California, just outside of Los Angeles right now. So I have all these layers selected in this button, Command or Control G to place them in a group. And I'm going to name this location, name this one zip code. Beautiful. So we have our home screen. Looking very clean, I know. Kind of like a clean haircut. I don't know. So we have our logo, we have Find a Cut, zip code, or use our location. So we've basically completed our home screen. And now we want to go to our map. And this is where we're going to get a little bit fun. We're going to break the bounds a little bit and use timed transitions to add a little bit of animation. So I'm going to add one more artboard over here. It's going to be another iPhone, there we go, iPhone 6, 7, and 8. And this is where the map's going to be. So I also, back in my Creative Cloud libraries, I have a little map image. Once again, I'm going to drag out a rectangle so it kind of constrains it all, and drag in my map. Boop. There we go. And if you double click, you can move the map anywhere you like. Probably doesn't make a difference because there's no actual content on this map, but there's a map. So on this first screen, we're going to have several screens on this map. So the first one, we're going to add name your artboards. Yes, Aaron, thank you. This is going to be my home screen. I can just double click on the artboard. I always forget to name my artboards, and that's why I have people in the chat to remind me. Thank you. We're going to create a current location. So to do that, we're going to grab our ellipse tool, zoom in. Let's say we're going to be located right about here. Make this nice and large. And we're going to change the fill to a blue. Usually it's around blue, the location. Just like that. And the border is going to be white. Now I don't want the border on the inside. I actually want the border to be on the outside. And I'm going to make the border nice and large. And then I'm going to add a very simple shadow in the background. I'm not going to go too crazy with it. And that's basically where we're going to be located. And if you want to be able to use this later on in your projects, you can add it as a symbol. So if I go over to my assets panel, I can either press the plus button beside symbol or Command or Control K, and it'll automatically add it as a symbol right there. And this will be current location. There we go. Now, next thing we want to do is we want to add just a very simple search bar at the top. We're not going to use it, but just to fill out this artboard, and it's something very simple we can do. I'm going to grab a rectangle, drag it out at the top, and once again, if I grab the handles on the inside, I can round it, just like that. And I'm going to turn the border down a little bit, like that. Maybe make it a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to just type in search. And you're noticing it's keeping the last typeface that I chose, which is Avenir Next. And I'm gonna turn this down. There we go. And back in my icons, I do have a search icon I can use. And creating a search icon is not very difficult, so I could have probably created it, but for the sake of time, we have a search icon. It's beautiful, isn't it? And I'm gonna make sure to use the same color as my search. Great. Okay, so this map is complete. Now, here's where things get fun. We're gonna actually duplicate this. We're gonna duplicate it over here, and we're gonna create a pin for the first location for the barbershop. And this one we're gonna create. We're gonna create this pin because we can. So I'm gonna create another circle right about here. Just like that. And if I zoom in here, let me change the fill to, let's say, a red. Turn the border off. And I'm gonna double click on this circle to reveal our beautiful pins. And I'm gonna just drag this one down, just like this. And if I double click on it, it'll convert it into a straight line. So we don't have that curve at the bottom. And then to add a hole in the middle, what I can do, you notice as I'm hovering over it, it tells me exactly where the center of this is. And if I hold down my Option key or Alt key on Windows and then drag up, it's gonna basically create that from the center. And now I have two circles. I have one, which is gonna act as the cutout, and then the actual pin. And if I select both of them with my Shift key and press this button at the top, which is Subtract, I'm basically gonna punch a hole right in my pin, as you can see like that, which is great. So this will be the location for the first pin. I'm actually gonna make this a little bit smaller. This is where our first barbershop will be located. And again, I do wanna make sure that I save this as a symbol. Command and Control K, and this will be pin. And you'll see why that's so important in a second. Now we're gonna duplicate this artboard. We're gonna duplicate this pin, hold down Alt or Option, drag it somewhere else. And we're gonna do that a few times. And you're gonna see why I'm doing this. It's not super necessary, but it's fun, and you'll see. Okay, so we'll have, let's say, 4 different barbershops, just like that. So we have 4 different pins, 4 different barbershops all around the city. Can you make the buttons and search functional? Sort of, and we're gonna get to that when we get to the prototyping mode. So we have right now, we have our original map, which is our current location. Then we have 4 additional maps with new pins on each one. And you're probably asking, what's the point of this? Now, if I go into my prototype mode, we'll start prototyping now. And what I'm able to do, I'm able to link these artboards together to give some sort of interaction to really show how this is gonna work. So zip code, we're not gonna worry about right now. But for location, if I click on this, we're gonna see this little handle, and I can drag this to any screen that I want to link it to. And I can drag it to this screen here, and it's gonna be a tap because I'm selecting a very specific button. And I want it to, let's say, slide over to the right. And we'll have a duration of about 0.4 seconds, and it's gonna ease out. So if I press the play button and press that location, it kind of slides over to the right, 0.4 seconds, not too bad. Oh, Gladstone, is the music too high? I can make it lower a little bit. Let me make the music a little bit lower. There we go. That should update in a second. So we have the duration's a little bit too slow. And if we do that, it slides over. Now to get to the next ones, I basically want the pins popping up throughout the document. So we're gonna use time transitions. Jeff says colorblind opinion, red on green can be challenging. Yeah, I can definitely change. Actually, I'll show you in a second how that can be changed very quickly. And this Jeff basically set me up for this, which is great. So for this one, we want these pins to kind of pop up throughout the document, throughout our artboards. So I'm gonna select the actual artboards. I'm not gonna select anything on it. I'm gonna drag this handle over to this next artboard. And instead of tap, I'm gonna select time. And I'm gonna, let's do 0.2 seconds. And we're gonna set the transition to none. We don't want any animation. And then once that's done, we're gonna do the same thing on every single other artboard. So we're gonna click on this one, drag it over. It's gonna copy all the same settings, and we're gonna do the same thing for all of these. Just like this, bam. All right, so now let's see what this looks like. We're gonna press the first, And we can also assign this as our home screen. So if we have nothing selected and we press the play button, our artboard pops up. And we press location, watch what happens. It automatically goes through that sequence and all the pins start popping up, which is fun. Now, going back to Jeff's comment, he asked about the red on green in the background, and that's very sound advice. So if we go back to design mode and select one of the pins, right? We have a lot of pins. And imagine we're working on this document for hours upon hours, and we have hundreds of these pins across dozens of artboards, right? Changing every single one would just be a hassle. I would tell Jeff, you know what? I can't do it. Sorry. But because we added this as a symbol, and all of these are symbols, and you can see that they're highlighted in green. There's a green bounding box around it. That tells me they're a symbol, right? So if I wanted to take Jeff's advice and change the color, watch this. I'm just going to select one of them, right? And change the color on one. And they're all changing. So if I want to change them to black to give a little bit more contrast on the green, that's very doable. And they change across the entire document because it is a symbol, which is incredibly valuable and super helpful. So Jeff, thank you for that advice. And it's very important to take, colorblind users into consideration when you're designing, and very good advice. So we have our artboards. We have find a cut, location, links to the map, which again pops up our different locations. And now we want to kind of define what it looks like when someone actually clicks on one of these artboards. So we're going to go make one more artboard. I'm going to drag it down here. And for this one, let's say this icon here, this pin is going to be clicked on. I'm going to actually make it larger. But you're noticing that they're all becoming larger. So we don't want that. So in this case, when you do want to alter the appearance, or at least the style or the transformation of one of these pins, you want to ungroup it. So you want to, it's currently a symbol, right? You want to right click, ungroup symbol. And now if I make this larger, it's not going to affect the others. So this one's going to be a little bit larger. We'll leave it right about there. And maybe we'll make the fill a little bit different. Now that might be more difficult to see. Maybe we'll add a border. Red's not going to work. Maybe blue or white. White border might work. Just so we know that that pin is selected. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it might work. So that's going to be that. And then we want to create a little thing that slides up at the bottom that is, we're going to be using an overlay for that. So we're going to drag this over, create another one. And down here at the bottom, we're going to create a rectangle just like this. And this is going to house the information for this selected pin. Now for this, I might want to get a little bit fancy and round out the corners a little bit. So again, I'm just going to drag these in, and I may not want to round the bottom corners. You're seeing how these, I could just, drag this down to hide it. But to show you, if you go over to the right and you click on this little guy here, this second icon, you can change the radius for individual corners. So this is the top left, top right, and bottom left. And if I just set these to 0, we have a nice sharp edge at the bottom and then rounded corners at the top. I'm going to turn off my border. Probably don't need that right now. So in this little box, we're going to have a few things. We're going to have a hero image at the top. We're going to have the name of the barbershop. And this is kind of where I want all of you to come in. Give me a clever name for a barbershop. And I'm going to put that here when I get to that point. We're going to have a star rating and then a few buttons to book now or get directions. So for the hero image, I'm actually going to duplicate this. Command or Control D, and then drag this up. I'm going to change the color so I can see what I'm working with. And the hero image is going to be right about here. And again, I'm going to refer to my Creative Cloud libraries, Supercuts. That one exists already. And I'm going to drag this guy in. Give me something that might not exist that's really clever. So just like before, I can double click on the image, and we now have a hero image at the top for our information. And at any time, we can select both of these and just drag them up if we wanted to make it larger or smaller, just like that. Great. Now, right about here, we're going to have our barbershop name. Hair-raising cuts. Frayed edges. Okay. I kind of like that. Frayed edges. I'm going to type that there. We're going to make this nice and black. Avenir next is good. And maybe medium. Medium looks okay. Right about there, a cut above. That's pretty good too. I'm gonna stick with frayed edges for now. And then let's go frayed edges, Barbershop. And then right below, we want a few stars for the star rating. So I'm gonna hop back over to my icon and drag in a star. That's why I love icons, they're just so easy. Yeah, I love that font too. Avenir Next is a very simple font, but it works. So we're gonna have a star right there. We're gonna change this to, let's say, yellow with a little bit of orange. That looks good. I'm gonna add it as a symbol again, Command and Control K. We have our star. And I'm just simply gonna I could use a repeat grid. You know what, let's use a repeat grid. Command and Control R to make a repeat grid. We'll drag out 4 of them. And then just drag that inwards to change the padding. And I can add 1 more star if I wanted to. If I ungroup this, I can make this one. They didn't earn their 5 stars. Beautiful. So they have a 4-star rating. Not great, but not terrible. And then right below, we're gonna add 1 more text line that says that they're open. So we're gonna be open. I'm gonna add a little dot and closes 9 p.m. Now obviously this is a little bit too big, so I can just drag this downwards a little bit, make sure everything lines up beautifully. Change that to regular so it's not as in focus. And we'll change the text. There we go. And this dot's looking a little bit too big. It's kind of overpowering. So I'm actually going to individually just make that a little bit smaller. Where'd you get the dot? So on the Mac, and I'm sure there's a shortcut on Windows, if I just hold down my Option key and press the number 8, it adds a little dot. And I'm sure Windows has a very similar shortcut key. But you can very easily make a dot just like that. So we have that done. Now right below, we're going to add 2 buttons. One is going to be a book button, so we can book our haircut, and then one is going to be for directions. So just like before, we're going to keep that style of nice rounded edges. Alt 8 on Windows. There you go. So it's Option 8 on Mac, Alt 8 on Windows. That works. We're going to have a blue button. I do want to add this color to my styles. This will be my active button. And we're going to have 1 more button. You know, let me make this a little bit larger. And this button over here to the right is going to be for directions. Now I don't want that as prominent, so I'm actually going to switch this. So I'm going to turn off the fill, so I have no fill, and I want to apply a border for this button. Let's say 2 pixel border, but I want that same blue. So I can either use the eyedropper, but because I added this as a color, I can right click on this and apply as a border, just like that. So we have 2 buttons. We have one for booking, which I'm going to grab my text tool and type out, wow, book now, not new, now. We're gonna make it, oops, make it nice and white. And let's go for medium, so it's a little bit easier to read. Just like that. And this, I'm gonna copy this over, and this one is going to be, let's actually use the same color. And this is gonna say directions. Let's make it a tad smaller. So Jeff says, what if you use the active color on the center point of the selected map icon? I was thinking about blue before, but against that green on the background, I mean, it's not terrible. Let's run with it. Let's do it, Jeff. Let's run with that color. So what we have now, let me make sure these are nice and centered. There we go. So we've completed the little thing that pops up at the bottom, but we want to use it as an overlay. Now, if we're using it as an overlay, we just basically want it as, we want it just by itself on this artboard. So I'm actually going to select, you know what, I have to change this one over here to that blue. Boop. I want to basically delete everything on this artboard. So I only have this, what do you call this thing? Details thing at the bottom, rectangle that pops up. So when we go over to prototype, we're actually going to go back over here, And instead of using a time transition this time, we want to click on this pin right here. This is the one that's going to be selected, right? And we're going to drag this all the way over here. It's going to link to this guy here. And this is going to be a tap because we're tapping on that exact pin. And we're not going to have any transition or any animation. But right after that happens, we want this overlay to slide up at the bottom. So this is where time transition comes into play again. So with that artboard selected, we're going to drag this over to this guy. We're time transition. Let's actually go for no delay this time, 0 seconds. And we want to set the transition or the action to overlay, and we're going to have it slide up. And if I hold down on this green guy, we have, you can see it's at the bottom. And if this artboard was much smaller, we can move this pretty much anywhere we want. But it basically knows it's at the center, it's at the bottom of the next artboard, it's going to be at the bottom of this artboard. So let's see how things are looking. Press the play button. Use my location. All of our pins pop up. I can click on this pin right here. It's going to automatically change to the active pin, and it's going to slide up from the bottom, which is looking good. Things are getting there. Now at this point, we want to make sure these buttons do something, because even though it's an overlay, if I click on it right now, it's going to slide it back down, and you're noticing something interesting. If I click on it, it slides back down, but it goes to the previous artboard. But the previous artboard has a time transition going back to the overlay. So in this case, we actually want, instead of this icon here, which goes to the previous artboard, we actually want to drag this one to this over here. And we're going to have basically no transition. We don't need any animation. So now if we do that one more time, use my location, pins pop up, click on that, click off to dismiss, and it goes back to this artboard over here. Beautiful. So next, and to finish things off, we're going to add the actual booking flow. So we're going to add one more artboard over to the right. Let's go back into design mode. Add one more artboard right over here. And this is where the booking is going to actually take place. I'm going to use that same background. So I'm going to hop back over here. I'm going to copy, Command or Control C, head back over here and paste it. So we have the exact same artboard. And if I wanted to make some additional changes, I can move this up, I can move this around, I can make this a little bit larger. Just like that. All right. So let's get designing this booking flow. So at the top here, we're gonna write out, we're gonna make it very user-friendly. When do you need your cut? Make sure to center this, make it a little bit larger. Avenir medium looks okay. Maybe demi-bold so they can see a little bit better. That looks good. And then right below, we're gonna have 2 buttons. Hey Abtin, welcome. Make these a little bit further apart. So this is going to be basically for the date, and this is going to be the time. I'm going to write right in the middle, at. There we go. Let's go today. Make this nice and dark. Yeah, Adobe Max, Matthias, is going to be, it's going to be fun. That's all I can say. I know lots of things, but that's all I'm going to say. It's going to be fun. There we go. So we have today at 1:30 p.m. and we're going to add some more icons. We're going to add a nice little calendar icon. We're not going to design this entire flow, but presumably if someone clicks on the calendar icon or the today, a calendar would pop up and they'd be able to select exactly what day they want to come in for a haircut. Make sure this is the same color. I haven't named that artboard yet. You're right. Thank you. I fail at naming artboards. And we're going to have a nice little clock icon. Naming artboards definitely does matter, especially when you have a ton of artboards throughout your document. It will help. And I should definitely get in a better habit of naming my artboards. So when do you need your cut? Today at 1:30 p.m. And again, presumably if anyone clicks on these buttons, a calendar or a clock of some sort will pop up and they'll be able to select a different calendar or date or time. And right over here, we're gonna have and this is where you're going to select your stylist. And for these ones, we're going to make a repeat grid. So the first one's going to be right about here. We don't need a border. And then right below that, let's put someone's name. For now, we'll put Jacob. Make it white and medium, a little bit smaller, and make sure to center it on this circle. And you're noticing that those smart guides appear right in the middle. So with both of those created, I'm going to hold down Shift, click on the circle, Command or Control R, or I can press the repeat grid button over to the right, and I can just drag this across. And let's go with 3 stylists. And I'll make this nice and even throughout the document, just like that. And now what we can do, because repeat grids allows you to edit text separately, I can go in here and just name this. I can change the text separately, Josh and John, bunch of J names. And then for images, I actually have from diverseui.com, I have a bunch of images there. Let's say this will be Jacob. Let's say this will be, who should be John? That'll be John. Who was the other guy? Whoops. The other guy is, oh, Josh. And, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Okay. So with those, I can just drag them in, and it'll automatically fill them. And if I have additional ones, it'll basically repeat, or I can drag more images in. There we go. So that's done. Drag this down again. And then down here is going to be the guy with the spiked hair. Yeah, I probably should have gone with a spike here. Jacob doesn't have much hair going on, but maybe he specializes in shaving heads. I don't know. And then down here is going to be for the surfaces. So we're going to create another repeat grid. We're going to start off with a checkbox. Set the border just enough so you can see it. And then beside it, let's go for haircut. Maybe haircut and wash. We're gonna left justify this. And for median, let's go for regular. There we go, and we need a price. So we're gonna put the price over here, right justify it. How much is a haircut these days? $30? And make sure to line it up with the stylus at the top. There we go. So we have a checkbox, the service, and the price. Again, I'm going to select all 3. Let me put these into a group. I'm being very bad at naming my layers. Name the service, and then create a repeat grid. And we'll go for 3 different services, and we can change the padding just like this. And this one down here is going to be beard trim. Let's go for $10 for that one. And a hair dye. $55. Why not? Now I'm just going to go through and just change the spacing just a little bit on these. They're a little bit close together. And this is why putting things in groups is so helpful, because when you're selecting these things, it makes it so much easier. Again, if I just select the different elements that make up this button, Command and Control G puts them into a group. And the same thing for this one. Beautiful. So we have our services, which is going to link from this Book Now button. Also, what about reduce the space between the images and center align them? I could do that. I mean, it is centered align now, but if I wanted to do that, I can click on the repeat grid and just make these smaller. And then just center them like that. That doesn't look too bad. So from this, hopping back into prototype mode, I can select this Book Now button and just have this link right over here. And I can maybe have the animation slide over to the right. It will be a tap and duration, let's say 0.2 seconds. And then at the bottom of this, we want to add one more button. There we go. I'll leave it right about there. And this will be the next button. Make it a little bit larger. And we'll go for demi-bold this time. Beautiful. So let's see how things are looking. Actually, you know what? This is going to be slightly darker, or lighter, I guess, because nothing has been selected yet. So let's play this back. We have our location. We're going to click on that. All the little pins are going to pop up. We can select one of the pins. The details of that barbershop will pop up. If we click off of it, it's going to go away. If we click back on, it's going to slide back up. If we press Book Now, our booking screen is going to show up. And then on the next screen, we're going to actually select some of these. And then that next button will highlight. So we're going to duplicate this over here. Now for this one, we're not going to worry about this. We're pretty much fine with this date and time. But for this one, we're going to select Josh for our... Can you program to send the data to the barber from XD? Can you program to send the data from the barber to from XD? Oh, no. So this is just designing right now. So there's no coding aspect, but ideally you would send all this to your developer and they would make it happen. They would do what they do, all the developer things. So now this one, because it's a repeat grid, if I change the styling on the images, let's say I make this, turn down the opacity, it's going to change it to all of them. So at this point, I want to actually ungroup this grid and then select Jacob and John and then turn down the opacity just like that. So we have just Josh highlighted. And then for this one, let's say we want to select, we want maybe a haircut and a beard trim. So I'm going to hop back over to my icons. And let's go for a check mark. A little bit smaller. And I can duplicate this down for the beard trim. There we go. And because all those are now selected, the next button is going to be clickable. Now, where does that next button take us? To the final confirmation screen. So I'm going to duplicate this one more time. I'm going to name this confirm. Now at the top here, let's go for we will see. And then in the actual, when this is live, they'll be able to click on this and type in their name. And we can probably put a very placeholder text that says your name here. But we'll keep that at there. With. And I'm actually going to remove these two. So it's just going to be Josh. For the following services. I can't spell. There we go. For Dreamweaver, from Dreamweaver or something, it depends on what they're coding it with. If it's for the web, Dreamweaver could work. If it's for iOS, it'd be Swift or some other coding application. But whatever developers use to develop, they can definitely do that. There we go. So, let's wire this up. So we stopped basically at here. Book Now goes here. And then for this, let's say the haircut is chosen, we'll go over here. We probably don't even have to slide it to the right. We'll just have no animation. And then next, go over here. Do you want this one to slide? Maybe. No slide. And let's see how things are looking. Use my location. Again, pops up all the pins using a timed transition. We can click on one of them to show the details of this barbershop. We can click off of it to hide them. Or we can click on Book Now. Is this a good screen to add the final cost? Yes, it is, Anne. That's a good point. And then, so we have today, we have time, and again, the user would be able to click on either of these icons to change the date or the time. What do you need done? Here's all the services. If you click on the checkbox beside haircut and wash, it basically hides the other two stylists. We can click on next. And basically that's a confirmation screen. So we will see the person will put their name in there. Today at 1:30 with Josh. And here's the services that have been selected. And as Anne mentioned, we can put the final cost. So let's put one more down here. How do we want to display that? That's a good question. So it's $40. We could probably just put that right under here as a total. And your total. Make sure to line it up. There we go. That looks good. Thank you, Anne. And Book Now, and presumably the Book Now button. Let's add one more screen. I can probably delete almost everything from this screen. See you soon. Book Now button will probably go away, and this will just be centered. There we go. Make that nice and bold. And that will wrap things up. So let's recap what we did in this lovely stream. So we started with our home screen, which has, and Matthias needs a haircut. So this is a good, I also need a haircut. This is a good reminder. We started with the home screen. We have a logo at the top. It basically tells the user they're going to find a cut. They can either enter their zip code or use the location. We created a few map screens. On the first map screen, we have the current location of the user. And then on each other map screen, a new pin pops up, and we use time transitions to show them all one step at a time. And then when someone clicks on this pin right here, it takes them to this screen here. It highlights that pin, and then automatically the time transition uses this artboard as an overlay. It slides up from the bottom, and then it can go through the booking process. So one more time, let's see how things are looking. Use my location. All the pins pop up. Slides up from the bottom. Book Now. Select a haircut. It highlights the chosen stylist. Press Next. Confirmation. They'll be able to type their name in there. Thank you, Anne, for the total of $40. Uh-oh, we forgot to link up the Book Now button. The Book Now button goes to the final screen. Book Now. Thanks. See you soon. So there you go. We have completed our daily challenge of creating a booking appointment app using our, guidelines to the left. And again, if you want to jump in here, definitely download that template and post it in Slack when you're finished. You can either work on this or work on something from scratch. Also post it to Behance. If you press on the share icon at the top, you can publish the prototype. You can grab the embed code, publish it to Behance so we can see it directly on there, or you can save the images separately, whatever works best for you. I hope all of you enjoyed this. Howard is usually the only one font in the app. I usually just use one font typically, depends on the style of the app. I'm a big fan of Avenir Next, but you can use like Open Sans, or Typekit has a ton of different fonts that you can use. So there's a lot of options, and it depends on what direction you're taking your app. Some you'll use multiple typefaces, but I keep things simple. So thanks all of you for hanging out today. This has been fun, and apologies for the little mess up at the beginning with the schedule on the screen, but things happen. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you picked up on some tips. Definitely head over to Behance, check out the Daily Creative Challenge, and I will see you all in a future stream. Take care, everyone.